Hi, I'm making this video to give my take on a pretty current question of the Ukraine-Russia war, and that is whether Kherson, the city of Kherson, or some people pronounce it Kherson, it just depends how you want to pronounce it really, whether that city in the Kherson region of Ukraine will be liberated in the coming weeks or anytime soon, because there's been quite a bit of activity over the last few months in the Kherson region. Obviously, in early September, the Ukrainian armed forces liberated over 100 square miles of land on the west of the Dnipro River, and some analysts in the news are saying that, there is a collapse of the Russian occupation in the city of Kherson coming up pretty soon, and they'll be forced to retreat to the other side of the river. Now, I personally don't agree with this. I think there's been a little bit of a spin, a little bit of a media spin on what's been happening recently. So the media line on this seems to have been that the Russian partial mobilization of troops, that is the mass recruitment of regular Russian civilians to, and reservists, mostly reservists actually, to fight in the war. The sort of media line has been a pretty clear implication that that isn't working, that the mobilization isn't changing anything. But the reason people might have that notion is that the mobilization started a while ago. It started in about early September. That's when it really got going. So if you hear about, they're mobilizing in early September, but then at the same time, the Ukrainian armed forces gain so much land, and then September comes and goes and there's no change, but they're still mobilizing apparently, so I guess it isn't working. Then October comes and goes, they're still mobilizing. Some of these mobilized troops have been sent out, but there doesn't seem to be any change in the tide of the war. So I guess maybe some people are either believing or pretending that the Russian mobilization won't have a large effect. Some people are either believing or pretending that the Russian mobilization won't have a large effect on the outcome of the war. But the thing is, the reason you heard about it so long ago and it hasn't taken effect or taken hold that quickly is because for all that time, they've been recruiting and training, but it's actually been only very recently that large numbers of mobilized troops have been landing in Kherson. This only really happened late October. There's been large amounts of troops. I think I'm trying to think. I think even up to late October, there was only about 50,000 mobilized troops in Kherson. In the entirety of Ukraine, and that's out of the 220,000 troops that have been mobilized in total. And the thing is, the reason why I'm making this video today is that it's quite special in that one estimate that came from the Kremlin was that all 220,000 of those mobilized troops should be ready and in Ukraine by the 7th of November. So that's why I'm making this video today. Because by now, literally just by now, if they're lying and they're wrong, and it's not all, definitely by this point, the large majority of those 220,000 new troops will be in Ukraine now. And that's just happened recently. It's really picked up over the last few days. Right now and over the last few days, there has been a big influx of Russian troops in there. And what we've seen over the past maybe couple weeks, I wouldn't say a month or whatever, but just for the past, honestly, few weeks, there's been very little movement in the south of Ukraine, especially around Kherson. There was these big gains in September, but for several weeks now, there has been basically, a lot of it is being kept undercover and there's been reporting restrictions put on it, but from what I can gather, there has been no major shift. There's been no rapid gaining of large swathes of land like there have been previously. It's been very slow. So, and I believe that is because of these mobilized troops, just the sheer numbers of them. Apparently they're not very well trained, but Russia are just throwing the sheer numbers at the front line, and it seems like the reason this has been happening now, the reason it's been slowing down just recently, is because of these troops finally taking effect. Now, I don't think this will flip the war in that Russia will start gaining significantly. I don't think that's going to happen. There has been a tentative slight retreat in Kherson, but analysts don't know if that's a proper retreat, if they're retreating from the region, or they're just retreating to come back once they've been refreshed with those troops. But there has been some slight retreats, but I don't think, like, just my opinion, I don't think that's indicative of them evacuating the whole region. I think they were waiting until these troops have came in. Now they've came in, they're going to stay there. Now, what I think this means, in conclusion, is that you will not see in the next few weeks the Ukrainian armed forces taking the city of Kherson. I'm pretty confident about that. You will not in this month, in the next month, 30 days. I'm pretty confident. Oh, this is going to look bad. 28 days, I'll make it slightly shorter. If I get this wrong, this will be bad, but I'm predicting it that in the next 28 days, the Ukrainian armed forces will not retake the city of Kherson. I just think there's too many bodies in the way. If this was a more logical army, if it was more rational, if they cared more about the civilians and the soldiers, the actual soldiers on the front line, maybe it'd be a different story. But because this is what the Russian army seems to do, they will just throw bodies at a problem until they stop the enemy. And this is such a big prize for the Kremlin. I just think the sheer number of troops coming here, they won't advance, but I don't think they're going to retreat out of the city either. I just don't think the Kremlin will let that happen. I don't think Putin will let that happen at almost any cost. I just think he'll keep throwing men at the situation and letting them die, whatever it takes to stop the Ukrainian advance. There is something else happening though, which might make that more likely in the future. Ukraine they're about to receive 90 refurbished tanks. Now, these tanks are from Czech Republic, using old language. And the refurbishment has been paid for 50-50 by the US and the Netherlands. Now, these tanks, I've got it written down here, they have more powerful engine, better fire control, thicker armour, and new stabilisation for their big gun. Not sure exactly what that means, but I assume that means that the gun will be more stable. So this is a significant amount of tanks, and they're pretty state-of-the-art according to the US government. So this shipment will be pretty significant, and maybe, when this shipment comes, there will be a new push to retake more land in the Kherson region. Could happen. But these things take time. There's so much bureaucracy and red tape and logistics around shipping military equipment. So these tanks will not be available at least for the next few weeks. So again, that in that month there will be no short-term liberation of the city. But in December, who knows? They'll have the new tanks. Maybe more stuff will go on. The collapse of the Russian infrastructure maybe continues more. Ukraine will continue to plan, continue to poke, and maybe in December they'll liberate it, hopefully. But I really don't think it's happening this month. So that's my take on it. If you disagree, or even if you agree, I'd like to hear what you say in the comments. I'd like to hear what anyone watching this thinks, if anyone does watch this. So yeah, if you got this far, thank you for watching. That was a thumbs down, should have done a thumbs up. Thank you, bye-bye.